Online dating and job hunting are remarkably similar because, see, in both cases, you are selling yourself. You are trying to convince somebody that they should pick you. Yeah, that's what's going on, right? And in both cases, you're doing it online for the most part. Okay, when you get in a higher level, okay, this video really is for guys who are starting out or who are in their 20s, right? When you're in a higher level, you never have to do what I'm about to be discussing here. When you're at a higher level, you get a headhunter who calls you up and wants to have a meeting with you, okay? So it's a different dynamic altogether. I'm talking about when you're starting out. When you're starting out in your career, in jobs and what have you, online dating, job hunting, the same fucking thing. And the strategies that work in one will work in the other. See, in both cases, you have to show a profile. A profile with the basic information about who you are. And in both cases, you have to give a little description about who you are and what you're looking for, right? And you're waiting for the buyer, i.e. the girl or the job that wants to hire somebody. You have to wait for them to reach out to you, right? I mean, you can go to them and express interest, right? But they're going to be reviewing what you're selling, right? And so therefore, the strategies that work for one are going to work for the other, because in both cases, they are buyers and you are the seller. So you have to learn how to sell yourself. In both online dating and job hunting, the whole issue is a numbers game. That means the more people you reach out to, the more likely it is that you'll get one of them to bite, that you'll get the girl or get a position. You see what I mean? If you focus on just like one girl or just one job, what are the odds that you get it? That you get some interest from them? 1 in 5, 1 in 10, 1 in 50? Exactly. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, that the likelihood of an expression of interest towards you is going to be 2%, right? So therefore, what would be the smart thing? To reach out to just one girl, one job, or to reach out to 50 girls, 50 jobs, Or better yet, reach out to 100, 200 girls, 100, 200 positions. Which do you think would be better? 200 jobs, 200 girls, of course, if it's a numbers game. If you don't know the outcome of any individual prospect, but in aggregate, there's a 2% likelihood of them reaching out to you, then the more the merrier. That's what you have to do. You have to reach out to as many as possible and not fall into this trap of hope. Because hope is what kills you here. Because you read some profile of some girl, you read some position that's open, and you think that this would be perfect for you. That this girl is just perfect for you. This position would be perfect for you. And you fall into the trap of hoping that this one is it. And you don't reach out to any others, you see? And this is where you fail. Because you see, that job, that girl, they might be perfect for you. But if the aggregate odds are just 2% that they're going to pick you, or at least they show any interest in you, then if you put all your chips in just the one girl, the one job, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you go to 50 girls, 100 positions, 150 girls, 200 positions, well, the odds improve, right? The odds are, say, for the sake of argument, that it's a 2% aggregate average of an expression of interest, right? 1 in 50. Well, if you go out to 200 positions, that means that 4 are going to want to interview you, right? And if the interview step, it's 1 in 4 that you get a job, well, then it's more likely not that you will get a job. You see what I mean? And therefore, if you go to more, there are more opportunities for success. And so that's the first thing you have to do. Go for as many as possible. Now, the second thing you have to do is to not talk your way out of success. And this happens all the time. Let me explain. You see, a lot of times, a guy will oversell himself, talk too much, give too much information to the girl or to the position. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. See? See, a lot of times what you want to do is put out your CV, put out your profile, right, with the basics, right? And the cover letter, you don't want it to be a fucking Bible. You don't want it to be a 5-page description of your life, right? When you reach out to some girl, you don't want to be talking to her for pages and pages about who you are and what you're looking for. No. You don't want to be doing that. What you want to be doing is be very, very short, extremely succinct, so that they fill in with their imagination what they want from you. Well, let me explain. See, in any kind of interaction, there is an element of imagination on both sides. Both sides tend to fill up the things that they don't know about the other with the things that they want, okay? And so think of it like a beaker, like an empty beaker, okay? Now the beaker is, I don't know, it can have like half a liter, right? But if there's already liquid in it, you know, say 100 milliliters, then you could only put in 400 milliliters. And if there's like 200, 300 milliliters, then even less, right? Well, think of it in those terms. See, you are presenting a beaker. And if you fill that beaker with your words, with who you are, with information about you that is beyond the basic information that is necessary to see if, you know, you're in or you're out, right? If you fill up that beaker with information, then there's going to be less for the girl, less for the position to fill it up. Do you see what I mean? You understand the metaphor I'm trying to say? The more you write and talk about who you are, the less room you leave the girl, you leave the position to fill it out with what they want, with their imaginations. You see what I mean? With their hopes. Because you have to understand, both sides want this to succeed. Do a simple experiment. Go online to a dating agency, right? Match.com or whatever, right? A dating site. Go to one of these, and instead of creating a profile for yourself, create a profile for a girl. Yeah, do that, okay? Or, you know, go to, you know, the job search websites, right? And pretend that you have a little company, say a printing press, and you need somebody new, right? And create a profile, or create a position that you want filled, and offer it. See? Pretend to be on the other side of the equation, is what I'm saying. Pretend to be a girl looking for a guy. Pretend to be a business looking for a position to fill, right? And be specific, you know, be serious about it. And do it and see what happens. Look at the responses you'll get, okay? And this I found to be one of the best things you can ever do, not just in looking for girls, not just in looking for a job, but in almost everything in life. Because see, most of life you are interacting with people who both sides want something out of the interaction, right? And see, what happened to me was that, see, when I was, I don't know, I was in my late 20s, I was living in Los Angeles, and I was trying to make it as a screenwriter there. And I had some marginal success, right? But the thing is, see, whenever I would meet with a producer, I was so confused as to what the fuck he wanted from me, right? And I would show up and I would start talking about scripts and script ideas and what have you. And sometimes these meetings went really well and I got a gig. And sometimes they went disastrously and I didn't get a gig, right? And I was very, very confused about it until years later, I don't know, maybe 10 years later, I found myself in the position of being a producer, hiring writers to write me a script. And when I became a producer, and when I started hiring writers to write scripts for me, all of a sudden I understood. I understood the dynamic. I understood what was going on. And I understood my mistakes when I'd been a screenwriter before, and I understood why I'd been successful in the past without realizing it, right? Because I'd lucked into certain things, not because I was clever, because I just got lucky, right? But only when I became a producer, when I was on the other side of the table, when I was the person looking for a position to fill, right? That's when I realized why I'd failed and why I'd succeeded as a writer, see? And so that lesson that I learned, what was it? This is like 2005 or something like this. This has stood me in good stead ever since. In every situation where you're interacting with somebody, right, what you have to do is you have to mentally put yourself in their position, right? Before you go to the meeting, right, you're going to some meeting, and either you're going to be selling something or buying something, right? Before you go into that meeting, into that room with your counterpart, right, you think to yourself and imagine yourself in their shoes and figure out what's their priority. You figure out what's their priority, and once you understand that, you'll be able to know what to offer them so as to close the deal. You go on some online dating site, right? You create a fictitious profile for some imaginary girl. Yeah, make the girl sort of like the girl of your dreams, like the girl that you'd like to date, right? Create that profile and see what guys are attracted to that profile. And see the guys that you say to yourself, ooh, this guy seems like pretty interesting. Yeah, if I were a girl, I'd want to date him. Or, oh, this guy, he's a fucking loser. I wouldn't date him in a million years if I were a girl, right? You start doing that, and you'll quickly realize what works and what doesn't. Ditto if you go to some a job site or whatever and pretend to be a firm, like a printing press or whatever, offering a position. You do that, and you will get applicants, and you'll start to see the applicants that you would want to hire if you actually had this business, of course, and those that you would never hire, and you start copying the ones who are successful in your mind and start avoiding the things, the mistakes that the guys that you'd never hire are making. You see? More and more of our lives and our interactions are online, okay? And this, I am very ambivalent about it. Because on the one hand, I think that there is a loss of that human interaction, which is so vital, and yet at the same time, I recognize that it's so much more efficient, okay? You know, like online dating, for instance. You can go through 50 girls in the space of an afternoon, something that would take you 6 months before, right? And you can interact with them and message them and get a sense for who they are, and quickly, you know, discard the ones who just won't fit with you, and potentially get a date with the ones who will fit with you. And same with like online jobs, right? You can quickly go through hundreds of different positions and zero in on the ones where you have an actual shot at success, right? But see, so that's my problem with online. It's very efficient. But the thing is, see, that human interaction, yeah? That human interaction, because sometimes somebody who is not ideal, insofar as a woman is concerned in dating, maybe she's not ideal in her picture and her profile, but you meet her and you really click, right? But you'll never know. Ditto with a job. It could be that maybe your resume is just not quite perfect for that particular position, but your temperament and disposition and your skill sets would be ideal for the position, even though on paper it's not the case, see? I mean, you're losing that. But, you know, every bit of progress has its pros and cons, and every bit of progress has its trade-offs, I guess. Yeah, we are trading off certain things for others that are at this time considered more valuable. God, I'm waxing philosophical. Yeah, I'm getting so goddamn philosophical that I think it might be time to wind down this video. Okay, so let me wind it down. Focus on 3 things. Number 1, recognize that it's a numbers game, right? The more people you try to contact, the more likelihood of success. Number 1. Number 2, don't send a huge letter, message, what have you, trying to, by words, convince the person to like you. No. The fewer the better. Be minimalist. Because, see, the fewer words, the more likelihood that they will fill it up with their imagination and go for you. And you just have to wait for them to come to you. Okay? That's the second thing. And the third thing, experiment by pretending to be on the other side of the table, on the other side of the equation. See, you pretend to do that, and it'll give you insights as to what will work and what will not work. Okay? This online stuff is going to be with us forever, so the smart thing is to get good at it now. Yeah.